So yeah, we have had a problem lately with kids who are come to school high or get high during school. Did you guys hear about the kid in the bathroom that was kind of
in the bathroom? They come to the nurse. They're sick all the time.
Found everywhere.
So I think like something
rising
good
numbers
would be like to kind of discuss.
We've had kids that have been rushed to the hospital because of
Absolutely.
it. Their first time, they've never done anything, and they're vaping off of somebody, and they
have
end
no
up really
idea.
sick and end up being rushed off to the hospital.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we still have all our drinkers. They don't think alcohol is a drug because it's legal. But it is, and Florida is one of the worst states because, you know, if they make the mistake of even driving while they're drinking, DUI in Florida stays on your record for 75 years.
I'm Ms. Hernandez. These are my fellow guidance counselors. I will let them introduce themselves. We are just kind of here to make sure that we are making you guys aware of different drugs that are available that we have seen and been seen on campus. So we'll start with Ms. Pittman to go ahead and introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Miss Pittman. I am the sophomore school counselor.
Hi, Ms. Hafer, senior counselor.
Mr. Galvin, junior counselor.
All right, and we're all here just to kind of give you some information on different drugs that we've seen on campus that we want you to make sure that you're staying away from because we've had kids, like we said, go to the hospital, go to the nurse, have to go home because of these drugs. So I think what we'll start with are the edibles. Edibles are like food products that contain cannabis or THC. They are drugs that people can make look like candies, make look like cookies, make it look like anything that you can eat, brownies that look good. But then once you eat them, the problem is that the cannabis amount that is contained in the edibles, you can't judge how much it is. So a lot of times it's so dangerous that it can cause you to be sick. Unfortunately, many people who consume edibles are unaware about like how much THC is in that edible product, and so that's where the problems come. So some different side effects that come from the edibles. They are varying in different amounts of cannabis. It depends on how much you consume. If you eat 2 brownies versus if you eat 1. If somebody gives you a piece of candy that has been soaked in THC, you eat too many of those, you can get sick and have to go to the hospital. So those are the types of things. If people are offering you candies or goodies and you don't know them really, you probably shouldn't be taking that. You can get fatigue, paranoia, trouble concentrating, panic attacks, dizziness, agitation, vomiting, like respiratory. Maybe you're having some heart palpitations and you don't really know why. You can also have hallucinations and then irregular heartbeats. So it's really not a good idea to be taking foods that could be soaked in THC because it's just going to make you sick. So risks of consuming edibles, the amount of THC is difficult to measure. Regulations are not there, especially if people are cooking these things up or soaking them in their household. They don't know how much they're supposed to be putting, so it's usually lacking the amount of dosage. You should not be using it at all. So, you know, another thing is marijuana overdose. People don't think, but when you start using it in the liquid form and soaking things, that's when you start coming with problems. And then you could get to the emergency room. Again, we've had ambulance have to come take our kids. So we really just don't want to see that. We want you guys to be safe.
Another issue that we've found on campus is vaping, and I'm sure all of you know what vaping is. Is vaping bad for you? Yes, vaping is bad for you. Over time, as the e-cigarettes use continues, experts will gain a better understanding on how vaping affects your lungs, because right now it's pretty new. They don't know all of the effects that it's having on us, but they do know that it causes pneumonia, it causes popcorn lung, it causes primary spontaneous pneumothoracic vaping. There are many unknowns about vaping, including what chemicals make up the vape and how the physical health is over the long term. I will tell you that some of the chemicals that are in it are formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is what they use when somebody has passed and they're being embalmed. It has a massive effect on your body. There's also a known weed killer chemical that is being used. So the chemicals that are in the vape are extremely dangerous to your body. It also crystallizes in your lungs. So one thing that One reason that vaping is dangerous is vaping is a delivery system that is like a nebulizer. And if you know anybody that has asthma, you use a nebulizer to try to open up your lungs. But with vaping, the liquids go into your lungs and then they crystallize inside of your lungs. And that's where the issues come in with the popcorn lung and the pneumonia, because it turns to crystals. And when a nebulizer is used, it opens up your airways. This closes your airways and crystallizes into your lungs. So it creates a lot of issues for you that you could just eliminate by not doing it.
I'm Ms. Hafer, 12th grade counselor, and what I wanted to talk to you guys about is alcohol. Now, I know many of you will say, oh, well, we know about alcohol, it's no big deal. But yeah, alcohol is a drug. It just happens to be legal for people over 21. However, in our society, because it is legal, it seems to have developed almost like a social acceptance. And you see that in advertising. It's actually promoted as a positive thing. This is going to make your life better. Look at how many people you're going to meet. Look at all these parties you're going to go to, or you're going to be so relaxed, worry-free if you're drinking. And then we need to realize that it also has effects. It has effects on our body and our mind. For instance, with the body, we lose our control of it and our coordination. And with our mind, we're losing our ability to make better decisions. For example, the hand-eye coordination and the balance and judgment, all of it is impaired with alcohol. And that's why people regret things they do after they've consumed too much alcohol. And then over the long term, it can have even more impacts on your body: liver damage, cancer, many countless negative effects on your body as you drink over the years. Now, in terms of excessive drinking, we've all heard that don't drink and drive, and it's very, very important. But one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is just how much worse the consequences are in the state of Florida. In the state of Florida, if you drink and drive, that's going to stay on your record for 75 years. And you can go from jail time from 6 months to 5 years. You'll lose your ability to drive for a while. Yeah, your car privileges are revoked. And then it depends on what level you're at, how many times you've committed the same crime. And then, of course, you're risking hurting and killing other people while you're driving, including yourself. So alcohol use should not be, before you're 21 anyway. But alcohol abuse is the worst, because people forget that it is a drug. It is a drug that happens to be legal in our society over 21, but it's also an addicting drug that causes many long-term, issues.
I'm Mr. Galvin, 11th grade counselor. We deal a lot with teens in our school, and a lot of kids have problems. Yeah, we as counselors, we see a lot of kids who talk about their problems. One of the reasons that some kids would use drugs is to escape from their problems. The problem that creates, though, is that you might be escaping for the moment. When you're not high anymore, you still have the problems you had before, but now you're dealing with another problem. And that's all the things that they've been talking about, the effects of drugs, possibility of addiction. Now, when people think of addiction, they think of cocaine or heroin, but there are other drugs that are addictive. Alcohol, for one, is addictive. You can be addicted to alcohol. There might be some other drugs that are addicted that kids don't really think will be addictive. But one of the major problems in our country right now is addiction to pain pills and other drugs that are prescription drugs that a lot of kids have access to. And, prescription drugs can be highly addictive, and the use of drugs over a period of time causes damage. A big problem damage that results from drug use is impairment of your judgment, decision-making, memory, and the ability to learn. Obviously, we go to school to learn, and it's really important that we come to school, ready to learn. Drugs are not going to help you do that. The decision-making process in teens is already an issue, because teens' brains are not fully formed yet. It probably takes your mid-20s for your brain to be good enough or developed enough to deal with decision-making and problems. A lot of kids have a lot of problems. I mean, whether they're personal, family, a lot of issues going on. So drugs is sometimes an escape, like I was saying earlier. But if you're already having judgment issues, the drugs are just going to make things worse. The problems are still going to be there. So be aware that this is not, you might be escaping for the moment, but in the long term, the issues may be worse. There are factors that lead to addiction, and you know what environment you come from. If you see it around you, obviously, it becomes a problem because it's normalized. If it's normal around your environment, that people pop pills for whatever reason, to go to sleep, to wake up, to relax, to whatever, then it just becomes like it's no big deal. But for teens, it can be a really big deal. So keep that in mind. If you see it around you, that doesn't mean it's normal. There's signs of addiction. If you feel like you have to have this drug to function, if you feel like you have to have it around you at all times, you're not comfortable if it's not around you, then there might be a sign that you need to talk to someone about it. Using drugs can cause trouble at work, at school, or wherever you are. You find yourself spending more time alone sometimes when you're suffering from addiction. You find yourself stealing or lying and trying to get money to pay for the addiction. So there's a lot of problems that come with pills, with prescription drugs. It's a problem throughout the country. It's a problem here at North Marion. So we're here for you guys. I mean, if you guys have problems that you need to talk about, obviously that's why we're here. We can't solve all the problems, but we can help you get through them. So drugs is not the answer. Of course, we all need medications for our diseases, for our ailments, but those are prescribed. Those are for use by the person it was prescribed for, and there's for specific reasons. So just because you have them, just because they're around, doesn't mean get them. So
even with the pills, the non-prescription drugs like ecstasy that people are bringing in and making in pill form is also an issue. They're put in smiley faces and happy things on top, so the kids are gravitating towards them. And so you shouldn't just, if your doctor hasn't prescribed it, if your parents haven't given it to you, no pills, no mushrooms. Any like stickers can even have drugs in them. The fentanyl that the people are taking and have like all of that. I'm sure it's accessible to you guys. You just really have to know that, really, should I do this or should I not do this? Even if it looks like candy, don't touch it.
Taking any substance that impairs your ability, that has an effect on your driving, is illegal. You will lose your license if you get caught doing it. It doesn't just have to be alcohol.
Absolutely.
It's anything. I have a personal friend who is serving 4 life sentences for being under the influence, and it's real. It happens.
So once again, just remember that we're here for you guys. We're here to listen, to support you. We can refer you and get additional help if you need it. But please don't be afraid to come to us. That is why we're here. So please come to us if you need it.